Hi, what's going on guys? It's Almond. Welcome back to another Wizard101 video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my updated Storm build, of course, because usually I play on Storm the most, but if I'm farming certain stuff, I switch between my Storm and my Fire, of course, just because sometimes Scald Incendiate, and then sometimes if I can't do Scald Incendiate, I just do it on my Storm. It just really comes down to that. But for like the past couple of videos, I've been updating all my guides on like the gear setups before the new area drops for like test realm and everything like that, because I'd assume we would be getting gear, but who knows if it's going to be like meta defining or anything like that, or maybe just swapping out one or two pieces. So then whenever that comes around, I can make a video for that type of stuff too. But this video is specifically titled to my Storm, and I'll give you guys my thoughts and opinions on the gear and what things you can swap out, of course, as well. So if you do enjoy this type of content, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all type of stuff, and let's get into it. So currently I'm wearing my energy fit, but if we swap over here to my Storm build, you can see I have 239 damage, which is technically 250, but with the curve and everything like that, I do get to 239. Resist doesn't really matter too much. You're gonna storm. It just is what it is. And then I have 42 accuracy, 52 pierce, and then of course 100% power pips and everything like that. Now, what pieces am I using on my storm? Now, if we go over here, I'm using the Reaver hood. Now, when it comes to the sockets, I have to preface this every time that you can use any sockets you want. You can literally go to bingo and you can be like, hey, let me buy some sockets off of you, everything, of course. And you can literally use whatever sword pins you want and whatever shield pins. You can even use outgoing if you want to have like, if you're just going to be using some type of healing storm setup, I don't know. If you want to have like outgoing, but preferably just honestly put on resist. Block isn't going to be needed. Just put on either balance, fire, or life. I would either put balance or fire personally, because life doesn't do as much damage to you in PvE. So specifically balance or fire, one of those. So that's when it comes down to sockets. Use whatever you like. Just because I have something on my setup when it comes to sockets, that doesn't mean you have to copy it unless I preface something, because I do get DMs quite often regarding about the pins and stuff. So yes, Reaver hood is like the main thing you want to be using. The robe, I use Demonic robe. You get this from the Polaris raid, and it's basically an upgraded version of the Nullity robe. Now, this is up to you if you want to go farm the Polaris raid, but if you already have the Nullity robe, you can just use that and call it a day. But I prefer the Polaris robe just as a whole because it's a better stat stick. Now, if you don't want to do the Polaris raid, you don't want to do the Void raid, the issue is if you do want to use Reaver robe, pay attention, because I do have 100% pips. Now, if I do switch over to, for example, this robe, I lose 1% power pips. So if you really want to use the Reaver robe, you're like dying to use it, you're probably going to have to switch your ring or your Dame, or using a mount that gives you pips, because you'll have to increase your pips by 1 so you have 100% powered pips. So it's really up to you if you really want to use a Reaver robe. But like honestly, I'm getting 1% pierce, but look how much damage I'm gaining on here. So I just prefer this as a better stat stick overall. So another option you can do is to make it, to like basically circumvent the pip issue, is go farm the Library Gauntlet robe. It's pretty easy to farm. It's not that hard. You can do it. It really doesn't take that long. So I highly recommend you go farm that and be better for you. So just go farm that. And you know, it's the raids, I know some people have like a lot of issues regarding it, like, oh, I don't have access to, I don't have enough people, etc. So I understand that issue. So that's why I'm giving you guys different options for your robe. So something along those lines. For your boots, I use Reaver, and like I said, with the sockets, you use whatever sockets you like. But when it comes to the power pins, just for the robe and boots, I specifically use balance. Now, I know that balance spells already have 100% accuracy, but you don't have to do that. It's really just up to you. And same thing with death, right? It's 100% on the feints. But the reason why I do that is in case if I do get hit with the mantle, I'm able to essentially circumvent it with like another 10% accuracy. So it's like a less chance of me fizzling those. So if you want to do like 5 in death and 5 into balance, go for it. But I just chose specifically balance because I don't really use feints too much on my storm, because I am kind of like, I do have like a little bit less HP than everyone else, and I do have a little bit less resist, but I'm doing more damage. So I don't want to use a feint and you know, put a 30% trap on me when I'm like questing. So for that reasoning, I do I do balance specifically just because I do sometimes use the LE blades when I am questing, but it's not like a requirement on this. But I do recommend it just because in case you do get mantled in any type of fight, it's just nice to have. The wand, I use Shababa. Now, this one is specifically better than the Reaver, I believe, because it gets 1% pierce. So if we go over here to Bingo, it's the same thing for Fire. Fire gets 1% extra pierce on their Shababa wands. But if you go over here, you can see that I get 5% pierce from here and 5% pierce from here. This only gives me 9% pierce. So of course, if you add up the pierce, I get 10. So technically the Shababa wand is better for the 1% extra pierce. And on top of that, I do get Shad rating and I do get a Star Blade. Now, if you really want to, if you really want the item cards from here, because I know you do get a Stormwing, you do get a Catalan. So if you really care about the wand and you don't want to do raids and stuff like that, you can honestly just use this Dream Reaver boomerang and you're fine, right? And if you do want this wand and you don't want to do raids, what I would recommend is you can open some packs, right? This is just an option. I'm not telling you you have to open packs, because you can just use the boomerang and call it a day. But if you really want the Shababa wand and you don't want to do raids, you can open the Ferrymancer pack that has literally the Shababa wands and the Shababa gear. So if you care about that, you can open that pack. But it really just depends to the player. Like if you have the people to do raids, go do the Azteca raid, go farm this wand. And if you don't have the players and you just have like a team of 4, go farm the boomerang and call it a day. But if you have some crowns lying around and you don't mind using crowns, and you are someone who's like who opens packs a lot and stuff like that, then literally just open the Ferrymancer and get the wands and call it a day. But I would chill on opening packs because of the fact is, like I said, new gear around the corner. Who knows if it's better? So I'll kind of just chill and just relax and wait a little bit for that reasoning. So yeah, I do use Shababa. And then when it comes to the sockets, I use health. On Storm, I'd recommend the health just because your health is below 10k with this setup. And you can use different robes. Like I said, there's so many robes that you can particularly use and try to get more health, but I just prefer the health on the Storm. Now you can, like I said in my previous videos, you can go to Bingo, you can get some tier sockets and put extra blades, you can put some item cards, get yourself another Storm blade. But what I would recommend is get yourself a Potent Trap and get yourself a Sharpened blade. But for the Storm setup, honestly, I would say the HP is just slightly better for me. Now I do get that, hey, like, you do get an item card, Sharpened blade, you do get a Potent Trap, but when we get to the pet portion, you can just use a pet that gives you a Sharpened blade, like a hamster, and that gives you a Storm blade too, so you can kind of just use that instead. You can use the Armor pets that give you a bunch of Sharpened blade item cards. You can do that. There's many pets in the game right now that give you so many good cards, so it's realistically you can just switch your pet and just put extra health on your tier sockets instead. That's an option too. So I prefer the health. But if you don't want to use the health, Sharpened blade item card on your tier socket, Potent Trap item card, at least on two of your pieces, of course. So like one would be like my Dame would have like a tier socket for Potent Trap, and my wand would have a tier socket for Sharpened blade, and you can just do that and call it a day. But that is just up to personal preference, but I want to advise you and give you guys my opinions on that too. So that's an option too. Now when the for the Dame, like I said, with the tier sockets, do whatever you like, but this is just what I do. And of course you want to socket on some damage, and we're using the Reaver Thame with the health socket, of course, as well. The amulet, I do use Han Hao. Now if you don't want to go do the Azteca raid, as I prefaced, you can just literally use this one, but the difference is that you do get 2 extra resists with the Han Hao one. Now with the Reaver one, you do get extra block and you do get a Storm blade, but you don't have to use the Frilosaur with this setup, so to have like the mount stamp bonus or whatever. So you can literally just use any pet that gives you a blade. You can change one of your tier sockets so you can get a Storm blade. You'll have an item card Sharpened blade, an item card Potent Trap. You can use a hamster that gives you a blade and a Sharpened blade. So you really don't need this anymore. Before, I would be using this before the whole like tier sockets got introduced and everything like that, but now that we have like tier socket blades and stuff, literally you don't need to use this. You can just use Han Hao. But if you don't want to do raids and farm the Azteca raid for this amulet, you can open packs. That's another option if that's something that's you're willing to do. You don't have to though, but I wouldn't recommend it, but it's an option. You can open the Floromancer pack. Floromancer 170 has these amulets, so you can do that. That's up to you. But if you don't want to do raids as a whole, just use the Reaver one and call it there. There's not really an in-between. You can use something else, but realistically I think it's just either Hunhow, either Shabalba, and then your last option would probably be a Reaver, so something around there. And then of course sock it on some damage and sock it on some accuracy. And then when it comes to the ring, I use Reaver ring and I sock it on 1 pierce jewel, of course, and then of course I have the health. And then the tier socket, like I said, you can use any of those item cards, but if you just want to get a easy 145 health opal, you can get it right here from Lucky. The 155s I specifically farm for them, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's very tedious to farm, very niche, so just be careful farming this stuff. It's not worth your time farming for 155 health opals. Just use the 145. You lose 10 health, but like I wouldn't recommend spending hours and hours trying to get 155 health opals. It's really not worth your time, and I'm saying this from experience, so just use that. Now the pet and the mount is what we're going to go over for this section. So I use the Avenger mount. You can use any mount that gives you 2%. There's the Clockwork Courser, of course, but I have that on my fire for aesthetic wise, and I use the Avenger on this because I like this mount, because I don't really see many people use this mount, and honestly I prefer it. So this gives me 2% pierce, and the pet I use is a triple damage double pierce pet, so you would want these stats: giver, dealer, giver, breaker, and piercer. Now I do have it on a fossil warrior set bonus with the Frilosaur. Now I don't use the item card, of course, but this means you can switch it to whatever you want. So if you want to use a pet that gives you an item card, which I don't think I have on me at the moment because I have like so many random pets, like you can use a pet that gives you like a feint. You can use a pet that gives you a blade. You can use a storm cloud pet. There's so many pets you can use, but I have it on a Frilosaur because I've already pre-made these a long time ago, and it makes it so if down the line we do get stat increases and stuff like that, and I'm if I need to drop the 2% pierce, I can switch to the set bonus mount and get my extra damage. Because if you use the set bonus from here, you do get 6 extra damage for storm. But with the stat caps on how they work, even if I drop this and use the set bonus, the damage isn't going to go as increased, because I literally have 250 damage as a whole, but I'm going down to 239. Now if you want to, you can drop like your amulet and something like that, or like even a deck. I think I have like an extra deck. Yeah, like even if I swap this deck, right, and I drop 6% pierce for 11 damage, you can see I go up only 1%. So would you rather have 1% damage or 6% pierce? That is up to you, right? It's just really up to you as a player. So that's where you get into like the little niche setups of like what little things do I want to swap out, and stuff like that. So I do keep all that gear on me in case I do want to swap to it at any point in time, because there are times where I'm like, okay, maybe that 1% damage does matter if I already pierced the enemy. But just if you want to have an overall set that you don't want to be swapping left, right, and center, just use this setup and with this pet and everything like that. It doesn't have to be specifically on this pet body, like I said, because I'm not using the set bonus, right? I'm not using the set bonus. So have this pet on whatever pet body you want. The storm cloud, there's multiple other ones as well. And then if we quickly move on to the deck, I was using Shabalba, and you guys can see between the Reaver and the Shabalba, you do gain 34 extra HP with Shabalba, and then you do gain 15 block with the Reaver. But it's really just up to you what you want to use. If you don't want to go farm the Azteca raid and get yourself a Shabalba deck, you can open the Ferrymancer pack, but honestly it's not worth the opening packs for the deck. So honestly, just use the Reaver deck and call it a day, and you'll be fine. But like I said, if you do want to farm this deck or get it, you can either farm the raid or you can open packs. You can open the Ferrymancer pack, but it's not really worth it for the extra health. It's not like a big stat difference like the other pieces of gear. So just use Reaver deck and call it a day, and you're basically good. So that's basically it for the whole setup. It's kind of like I said, as I was stating earlier in the video, you can swap things around, you can do whatever you like. If you want to drop 22 damage and have another 12 pierce, you can do that as well, and then just use the set bonus to make up some damage. You'll have like 64 pierce. That's an option too. You have a lot of options with this setup, but this is just what I prefer. You can move some pierce jewels around, you can move some damage jewels around. I am like a person who swaps pieces if I need to. That's why I have literally another reaver at the aim that gives me the same exact health and everything like that, but I swap the jewels to pierce. So like if I wanted to, for example, and let's say I just wanted to go all out pierce, like this whole setup gives me pierce, right? You can see that I have 64 pierce, but my damage just says significantly go down to 228. So you got to keep that in mind. But I just prefer this setup with the 2% or the 2 jewels that give me damage, and I end up with 239, and I have 52 pierce. But if you don't have a mount, you don't have the pierce mount, just take it off and you can use anything, literally anything. Because like I'm still at 50 pierce, you can just use like your favorite mount. For example, if you like, I don't know, if you have something that you like, you can even use a crystal unicorn for some reason if you want the extra 2 accuracy. But it's not like you're gonna fizzle, you already have like 42 accuracy. So honestly, just when it comes to the mount with the setup, use whatever you like, but the pierce is just better because you get that 52 pierce. So there's that. But this is my whole setup. It's like I said, I'm gonna preface this, it's opinion based. This is what I prefer to use, and end game is just kind of like you swap some stats around for whatever you prefer, and this is just overall what I prefer. So if you want to drop some damage and get some pierce, go for it. If you want to prioritize one or the other, go for it. It's up to you, it's your build, but the stats are still going to be around the same. It's just what you want to prioritize in your extra stuff, so keep that in mind. And you can even use pack gear and stuff like that. There's so many like different templates now. I probably need to make an updated template video at one point if I have the time with all these new ones and like make a whole slideshow. But we'll see when it comes to that. But that's it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is probably going to be the last video for the setups till we get the update coming around the corner, and then I will update them if I need to. But depending on the title of this video, I'll probably change it down the line if nothing changes. And yeah, so leave a like, subscribe, all type of stuff. If you have any questions, let me know down below. But if you want a quicker answer, best way is to DM me on Discord or even just join the server and ping me. I usually am just chilling in my server and sitting in the VC most of the time, so that's an option too. But that is it, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace out, guys.